Thank you for joining us for Pet Connect. I'm Tara Douglas. Thank you to everyone who came out to the adoption event that we had at PetSense on Saturday. We were able to adopt out 6 cats at the event, and that was a wonderful success. But if you are looking for a cat, we still have a lot of cats in foster, and we have cats at the shelter. But today's segment is going to be about dogs mainly, and we have our available pet of the week. Her name is Tabitha. She came to the shelter as an older puppy. She's now 1.5 years, and she is ready to go to a good home. She's spayed, she's heartworm negative, and she's been able to be tested. As you can see, she loves people, but she also loves kids and loves other dogs. So if you are thinking about adopting a dog, please go by the shelter and check out any of the 60+ dogs that are there at the shelter. But certainly Tabitha is the one that we're highlighting this week, and we hope to find her a home very soon. And with that said, we have our 2 special guests here today. We have Terri Brooks and Patti Gamel from the Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill. So they are responsible for helping us find homes for these dogs. So thank you so much for coming on the show. So tell us a little bit about who you are. So Terri, we'll start with you.
My name is Terri Brooks. I'm on the board of the Feral Dogs of Avondale Mills, and I've been with the group basically since we started our 501c3, but I've also been volunteering at the shelter for over 6 years. So I've been heavily involved, with trying to help the animals there and so forth, and finding rescues or homes and taking pictures and so forth.
And Patti, tell us a little bit about who you are.
I'm Patti Gamel. I've been there about 5 years volunteering, and I've helped with the feral dogs around the community, and I foster dogs also, puppies usually.
That's great. So, I wanted the 2 of you to come on the show today because there are a lot of questions in the community about what to do with the stray dogs, the feral dogs. People don't understand exactly what happens with a dog like Tabitha that we saw, who has been at the shelter for, since she was an older puppy. And so the 2 of you can enlighten us on that. I said that you've taken on that responsibility to try to help find dogs for the community, but you also have full-time jobs. So we're going to talk about everything that it takes to do what you do and the need for more people to help.
Right.
So let's start with a dog like Tabitha. What happens when you take a dog to the shelter or find a dog?
Right. So I think people in the community think, when a dog comes in, we can quickly move them, out to a rescue or find them a home. There's a lot of steps within the process. So I'm so thankful we're doing this so people can kind of understand when you find a dog, it's not like next week it can go out on a transport to a rescue. We save a lot of animals. So the first step with, is to do intake on them. Is they get to the shelter, they get their shots, they get dewormer, they get flea meds, they get a heartworm test if they're 6 months or older, and then we can kind of go from there, assessing, get their picture, and then assessing how we move forward with the next step. So that's step 1. So if you find a dog in a community, if you can't get it to the shelter, then the option for you is to get us a lot of the same information we would get if a dog was at the shelter. The next step is basically pictures. Pictures is the biggest way that we can get, an animal, to a rescue. We need pictures. We need to assess the personality. We need to dog test if it's an older dog. And if it's puppies, we need to get them out of the shelter into a foster home.
Okay.
So that's, whether you're in the community or a dog at the shelter, those are the first 2 steps. We can't do anything without the meds in the dog and pictures and to know, the personality of the dog. So those are steps 1 and 2.
And you had mentioned that if someone has the dog at their home, then they can get that information for you because the shelter is full most of the time. So it is tough to drop a dog off at the shelter. But if we could have some help from the people that find the dogs, that you can step in and kind of become a volunteer at your own home, basically, to take on some of that, to help take on some of that responsibility to find that dog.
Right, and it's going to be working with the shelter if you find a dog, and first thing we have to see is pictures. We have to determine, is this a dog that we can help? Adult dogs is very difficult for us to help right now. Puppies, a lot easier. But the first step is, if you find a dog, we need a picture. We need, unfortunately, most things go on looks. to decide if we can help send it to a rescue or not. And it's what it looks like, how old it is, and then we'll start asking more questions. What's its personality? Is it friendly with your dogs? And so forth. But then from there we can decide, hey, let's get intake on it. Whether you go to the shelter to get intake, or I sometimes do intake at my home. So
That's great. Now with the pictures that you do, I see you at the shelter every Saturday. So tell us what it takes to get those pictures, because you're constantly looking for people to help and volunteers, and that's a fun day to go out and get dogs out of their kennels and to let them enjoy the day and get some pictures. So it's actually a lot of fun to go do that, but you need help doing that. So
So I'm pretty much there every Saturday at 11 o'clock. So, you know, if people want to come out and help me, what we do is I already have in my mind, because since I take most of the pictures, you know, who's been done, who hasn't. We walk through the shelter. I'll know what puppies are coming up. If they're well into their second shot and still at the shelter, then we'll do pictures of them. And we just start pulling them out, interacting. On that same day, we can kind of see their personality too, you know, and basically get 4 or 5 really good pictures of them to post on the shelter page. Not everything will get posted, because some will see immediately and go, oh, this rescue would love to have this dog or that dog or so forth. So yeah, I would love to have more volunteers. You know, especially seeing how the dogs interact with new people. A lot of them see my faces there, so it's good to say, oh, they're great with new people. Oh, they're great with older kids, you know. We're very cautious on young kids though, but you know, we can't have young kids volunteers, but we take it extra precaution on those.
And I know that is so helpful for you to know the personality of the dog, because if you can get those videos, if you can get new people in, if you can try different scenarios, then you have more information to give to these to other rescues that you do network with.
So those are always the first questions they ask. What's he like? What's she like? You know, how does she interact with kids? Is she dog friendly? Is she those things? So even if you have a dog that you want help with and we say, hey, we can help you, we have to have that same information from you too. You have to send us videos. Hey, this is how it interacts with my kids. This is how it interacts with, you know, my dogs. This is, you know, its personality and so forth. So, you know, that's one step in the, you know, tier of moving a dog.
And there are a lot of steps in
There
that.
are a lot of steps.
And I've talked several times on the show. I've had some guests that do Doggy Day Out. I've mentioned it so many times that's another, I mean, not just on Saturdays when you're there to take pictures to come and help you, but if people have the opportunity to go out and just take a dog out to the play yard at the shelter and take that time to get to know them, take some pictures, maybe do some videos, that can help you quite a bit on days that you're not there.
And Patti has done that quite a bit too, you know, helping with, you know, getting dogs and interacting. She, a lot of times, you know, will have favorites, and it would be great, you know, like if people come out and kind of, you know, promote one of the dogs that's kind of been there a longer time. You know, we just got one of our favorites. Patti can talk about Chance, you know, to Anna's shelter to help find a home.
Yeah, he was there for a long time. He was one of our long time dogs there, but he moved to a shelter about 2 weeks ago, and he's just been doing fantastic.
That's great.
And they all love him. He's just such a sweet boy. He's a tough lover because he's a pity, but he's a sweet boy. Yeah.
I've seen him posted so much on Facebook, and it's just great to see that he was finally able to go.
Right.
Yeah.
So Patty's a big advocate, you know, was for him, you know, to get him out and, you know, and coming out and spending time with him and so forth to keep his spirit up, because he was a beautiful white pitty, you know, but just took extra time for us. And because he had advocates with Carolyn and Patti, then we eventually, you know, found him a rescue where he'll eventually find a home.
So Patti or Terry, what is the process if you want to go take a dog out to the play yard and spend a little bit of time with it? What's the process? I mean, do you just stop by the shelter and tell them you'd like to take a dog out to play with it?
Yeah, I would think, just, you know, have to go in there and see which one you would like to interact with.
Okay.
And the shelter should let you go and, you know, help you down there to the play yard, because some of them can like drag you down to the play yard.
They do. They've
Like
been in that
Chance.
kennel, so they.
Yeah, they're excited to be out, so they they can drag you to the play yard.
Yep.
And that's why it's always a good idea if you want to adopt a dog to walk through, look at the dogs, but then get them out to the play yard so you can really see their personality because they've been in the kennel and of course they're going to be excited and you know.
And I would suggest when people do that, take videos, take pictures, you know, post on your own page. Hey, I took this great dog out today, even if it's just to the play yard. They can help quite a bit. I've taken a few out, you know. One was recently, Olivia was a hound, you know, mix that I took out to the play yard and took some quick pictures and posted it on my page, and somebody saw it and she got adopted locally, you know. So not everything has to go to a rescue, you know, that there are avenues, you know, hopefully locally if we can get a little more, you know, show of these great dogs, especially the older dogs. Right now, rescues, you know, and we talk a lot about rescues because probably 85–90% of our animals, you know, go to rescue, you know, that we can get out. Doesn't mean everybody in the shelter goes to a rescue, but whether it's adoption or rescue, that's where most of them go. And, you know, it's not easy to get, you know, a dog to rescue, you know. So there's a process that we do to get a dog to rescue. You know, we know some will say, hey, you know, you may like this one or that one, and then we'll submit them directly to them. Or we know a transport's coming up and they've even slowed down. Or we'll post them only available at the shelter, and then we'll sometimes see rescues tag. Hey, I like this dog. Tell me about this dog. And that's always their first question. Tell me about the dog. It's not just on the picture, it's what are they like, personality, and so forth.
Because if they're going to take a dog from us here in Sylacauga, they need to know they can find a home for that dog. So that helps them quite a bit.
Right. They know what their community, you know, and it's kind of a supply and demand thing. They know what their community is looking for. They know what will have an easier time of getting adoptions, you know, adopted once they get there. You know, unfortunately, you know, pits and pit mixes, you know, most of our rescues will not take. And I love pits and pit mixes. I mean, most of them are the sweetest thing ever at the shelter. But for some reason, you know, even at our rescues, they have a harder time finding homes for them, so they can't take them, you know.
And you have these rescues in lots of different states.
Right.
So you have, basically, you know these rescues, you have partnerships with them, and you can continue to network with them when you have these dogs available.
Right.
So,
you know, and we'll advocate, like Chance is a pit, but an absolutely fabulous dog, you know, and it just took us a little longer, you know, it's like video after video and showing his personality and so forth to really find, you know, the right place for him to find, hopefully in the next few days, find a home, because usually they'll adopt out pretty quickly at, you know, our partner rescues, which are, you know, we have them in Florida, Wisconsin, Illinois, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, you know, we have, but it's really has slowed down, you know, at this time. So.
And with those partnerships, I know again the misconception in the community that they can tell you they have a dog and you'll find a home immediately. Up to this point, we've talked about intake. We've talked about how important it is to interact with the dog and get pictures. And then you have to contact these rescues. Then after that, it's still not simple. You're not just calling them and say this dog's available and send that dog there. Let's talk about what has to happen to get them on a transport to get to those rescues.
And just so people know too, you know, our first priority is our shelter animals at that point. We do help in the community, but our priority right now, so that other dogs can come in and we can assess them from there. But our priority is always the shelter dogs first at, you know, at this point. So from there, if we submit to a rescue or we know a transport's coming up and we'll submit, you know, they may take 15 of our dogs or whatever, we'll kind of submit the list and see, you know, what they can and can't take. And it's based on what we know they can move quickly. And sometimes we can throw in, you know, one or two, you know, kind of that may be harder for them to move. So after that's been established, from there, we have to start focusing on, you know, kind of for certain states, we have to do health certificates. So it's lining up the vet visits. It's to get the rabies shot at the vet. It's to get the transport to the vet, find somebody to drive them, you know, getting all that paperwork in place. So that takes a lot of scheduling, you know, with our vets who can, you know, do those type things too. And then, you know, the next thing is transport, because we have lots of different transport options. We do have our own van that we pay a fee monthly and insurance on it. But we also have certain rescues have their own private transport, and then there's also ARR, who is a transport, rescue who can transport to, north and south, but they have a schedule that they do. So a lot of times we can get, some on those transports. So we have to figure out what's the best option. There are other transports out there that if we needed, like to New York, there's, for-profit transport companies too. So there's just scheduling, those type things with whether there's animals in foster or they're at the shelter. It's just coordinating those things.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot of us messaging back and forth.
It
to,
is.
As we work our full-time jobs to, to schedule those things. So, you can look at for any dog that we send, on a transport, what would you say? We're spending probably 10 hours or more on each animal, between pictures and personality and dog testing, and submitting.
As you're doing your full-time job, taking care of your own pets and your own families.
So if there's 15 dogs on the transport, you're looking at, we've invested 150 hours just trying to coordinate everything.
So, so there again, it's so good if we can get more volunteers in the community to help. So, if you're an animal lover, then research Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill some more. You can go to the Facebook page. You can email them at theferaldogsofavondalemil@gmail.com and find out some ways that we can help as a community. And if you see the Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill volunteers around town, thank them for what they're doing because they do such a wonderful job and helping the shelter.
That will highlight this Saturday. What is it? 3 to 6. Do you want to talk about the where we're going to be at Sierra?
Sarah Honda?
Yeah.
We're going to do the trunk or treat at Sarah Honda this Saturday. And I hope y'all all come out and get some candy.
And to help with everything that they're doing, we are having a fundraiser also. So check out the Facebook page, and if you can help them raise some funds, that would be great because it does take time, but it also takes money for them to accomplish everything that they're doing there. Right. And thank you so much for joining us on the show. And we could talk for 30 more minutes about everything that Feral Dogs does. But thanks again for everything that you do. And we wouldn't have this problem if we all spayed and neutered our pets. And so keep in mind that not only is Tabitha available with her picture up on the screen, but we also have spay and neuter vouchers, low cost, available to the community year round. And they're available at Mutt Cuts at 210 Calhoun Avenue. And we're having a low cost, another $25 when you said the beginning of December?
December 5th. Okay. We've already set the schedule. December 5th, we'll sell more $25 spay and neuter vouchers to the community, at PetSense on that day. So we have to raise the extra funds to get those. So we're still trying to raise a few more dollars so we can sell more. But yes, that's our goal right now.
Great.
Because we don't get them at $25.
Right.
Yeah, Feral Dogs has to raise the money to get $25 ones for the community.
Yeah, we have to pay the regular price. So
Well, thank you so much for coming. We've got all these fabulous pictures of Tabitha that we're going to end with. And she is a sweet dog, so please consider going by the shelter and checking out those dogs and finding a good home for one of them. Join us next week. We'll have Beth from PetSense, and we'll talk about the different events that they have coming up and the different specials that they have at their store. And we'll see you next week.